Welcome back to Malaya and Luzon Wargaming. We're playing War in the Pacific Admirals Edition, a play-by-email campaign playing as Japan in Scenario 1. We're now setting up the December 17th, 1941 turn, and I'm going to keep this one pretty short and sweet. There aren't too many new decisions being made this turn. This is mostly continuing with stuff that's already in motion, so I don't think I need to go over everything. Starting off in China, we haven't taken Hong Kong yet, and I'm starting to get slightly impatient. Not enough to want to do a shock attack and take additional casualties. However, we have a division that's about to depart Nagasaki. It was intended for Rangoon, or I should say Bangkok. Rangoon eventually. It would be so easy for them to stop at Hong Kong on the way. So that's something we can do. And then, once we free up Hong Kong, the Hong Kong division will be free to go to the Philippines, and hopefully we can kind of get a cascade reaction of finishing off theaters. That said, the fight in Hong Kong isn't going badly. The enemy's taking a lot of casualties, and it's unsustainable for them, so we're going to get it. Also in China, we've come into contact over here around Pucheng. The space to inland will be a battle. Pucheng itself will not. I don't have enough forces there yet. Over here at the river crossing at Kaifeng, we are holding this position rather than advancing. It does appear that the enemy is retreating. They did have units in this space. I was expecting a battle, a potential shock attack as I crossed that river, but they retreated out as I was arriving. So fine by me. They've given me a beachhead, basically. So instead of advancing, I'll just go ahead and continue to move units across while I hold this road. We'll also be clearing Quite this turn, and I think that's it. Also up here at Pateau, they retreated. Hey, if they're going to give us territory, we'll just keep moving into it as they move out of it. Malaya. Some of the enemy from Alor Star has made it into this space that's adjacent. Fine by me. I have an armored car regiment and an infantry regiment waiting for them, so we'll get to work right on them. We have armor that's made a breakthrough past Taiping, working their way down. We're continuing to work on this unit over here. No big deal there. I have units advancing on Johore Baru from both sides. Along with the additional armor that's now landing in Mersing. That's not quite ready to take part in that advance. In the air, I'm only going to send fighters to Johore and Singapore, basically temporarily suspending bomber operations like anywhere south of Kuantan. We're going to take care of these fighters. We're beating them in the air. I kind of tempted to bomb them, but I don't think it's necessary. And in any case, our fighters are still really busy because we still need to cover these ships at Mersing while they're unloading. Once these guys start to unload or finish unloading and depart, and I can start moving the covering force back, the shape of the air campaign around here can change a little bit. Kuching, we're still not at 3. Really hoping to be getting there soon. I could definitely use the coverage. Mindanao. So we don't have enough at Kagan to take it yet, although we have a few additional forces landing up here. Hopefully I set them to attack. I did. We're still moving troops in there. I'm shuffling up the surface forces a little bit to make sure Carrier Division 2 has fast battleships, and a set of slow battleships are basically going to be rotating into bombardment duty. So if it turns out we don't have enough, I don't need to land extra reinforcements here to take Again. I can just shell them until they capitulate. We now have a total of 4 S and LF units that are ordered to make it to Ambon, so they're either loading or will be departing shortly. They're not all going to arrive at the same time, but that's fine. If I end up just having kind of a cascade of Marines landing and moving forward, I'll be perfectly happy with that. I basically just want all the bases in this area that can become air bases, I just want. And then that'll eventually expand my Betty range to lock down like any access to Darwin and Timor and Arafura Seas. Basically really tighten the noose hard against Surabaya. Right now, Bab el-Doab is insufficiently supplied to allow Carrier Division 2 to restock any aircraft. The good news is I think they're only short 3 vals right now. For 2 boats, that ain't bad. So they're heading south. Right now the plan is Darwin first. See what we can get, and then move on to Surabaya. Carrier Division, the Mini KB, of course, is heading home. I've lightened its escort a little bit, since, those warships are needed in theater at the moment. The 4th Division has arrived at Truk. The 4th Division is intended for Port Moresby. We're going to need some recon flights over Port Moresby to determine how feasible that is. We're working on getting recon aircraft down here. For the moment, I just have Bettys and float planes. Hopefully that'll change soon. Yeah, right now the furthest south I've managed to get recon aircraft is Minato, but they're coming. We're also starting to get some of the first of the aviation support units and construction units arriving in theater, so we can start moving that into Rabaul. Overall, I'm just not happy with the relative pace of the logistical support versus the combat operations. And I'm not sure if that's because I was so focused on making sure everything got moved to Malaya and Philippines quickly, or if it's a result of just how fast we've been getting territory that I've just outpaced myself. In either case, that's one of my highest priorities right now, is getting that support down here, to the point that I'm even going to be moving some of those construction units and possibly even aviation support out of Philippines and Manila to get it down here. And then I guess one last thing to mention is to take note of these submarines, and I'm basically going to be creating a line from Port Moresby down to the Santa Cruz Islands with these guys, and we're going to try to look out for enemy units arriving. I moved some Bettys into Rabaul, even though we don't have torpedoes or even aviation support yet. They'll have some aviation support in like a day or two. But I just want to make sure Port Moresby isn't being reinforced, and I want to make sure that we're not getting surprised in the Solomons. And the Solomons does have a heavy cover force hanging out there. So we've moved into the Shortlands. We've got Marines about to arrive at Tulagi, and then more Marines about to arrive at Lunga and Guadalcanal. So we're locking this stuff down, and then I'm going to very quickly be looking at, can I win the race to New Caledonia and Espiritu Santo? So I need to consolidate this area first and make sure that we're building up, making sure that we have functioning air bases and air cover before I go racing into New Caledonia. But I can do a much better job closing Australia off to U.S. supply shipments, U.S. Troop reinforcements, if I take this instead of just this. So it's on the agenda. It's really just a question of, am I going to have the troops available to pull it off? So that's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, I guess. That's definitely going to be more of a January and February thing rather than a December thing. Just wanted to let you know that I am thinking about it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. See you for the combat replay. And we're back. Combat replay for December 17th in progress. I hate that you lose troops for loading them up sometimes. So, the Skybokan had the deep-reaching depth charges, so that's why I sent him into the deep water here to try to get the sub, and instead he just got attacked and did not manage to counterattack the submarine. Alright, now this could be interesting. So this looks like a Wix class or similar old model destroyer operating near Milne. As far as we know, it's just the two destroyers. Didn't see anyone else in company with them. Hopefully we can get a better classification on their task force going forward once the Bettys start flying their search arcs. I'm guessing that was the ship that was bombed by Hudson's yesterday that just went down. Well, if you're not going to launch torpedoes at them, you know you have guns, right? Okay, we've got more submarines poking around another amphibious operation. Actually wondering if I should maybe detach some of the higher quality destroyers from the KB to go after confirmed submarine spottings. Yeah, so here's a Kaida class boat operator that knows what a deck gun is. Wonder where he's carrying fuel to. Maybe Kopang? Ooh, 5 ships detected off Bangka. That's interesting. Ooh, no resistance at Clark anymore, with P-40s being damaged on the ground. That's interesting. So that may signal that the air campaign here at Clark is just about over. Yeah, one fighter on cap between both bases. You may have to start paying attention to Clark in terms of whether they're shooting any flak at me. It's one thing I think that I'd like to do, especially after watching Joke and Hayden's recent video on supply routes and valid retreat options. I think if I can reduce the supply at Clark to 0, I can almost guarantee that there won't be a retreat to Clark from Manila. So some of the cap up at Bangkok decided to help out when this unit was raided at Ayutthaya. So we had one enemy fighter destroyed. All the bombers got through, but it appears the raid was ineffective. Ships on the far side of Sumatra. It's a little interesting. Traffic at Port Moresby. Damn. Well, 3 Buffalo came out to play, but we were not able to shoot down any of them. No fighter resistance above Johore Bahru. Maybe that means we can resume bombings. Oh yeah, go after the cruiser. Don't go after the transports dropping off the reinforcements. Uh-oh. All the more reason to take out Ambon, now that we know that's where the bombers are coming from. Let's get him this time. Nope. Should be an easy win. 17-1 odds. Essentially no losses for us. Looks like about 110 devices destroyed for the enemy. So this is a corps that's at strength. We've got a division, a brigade, and a tank regiment, and that is enough to dislodge them. They did get a terrain bonus. They were in the wrong op mode, so that may have helped us out a bit. No device destruction for us. So that's great news. We were expecting a bit more of a challenge here. Plenty of enemy casualties too, and they've... I forgot if they've retreated to this nearby base or across the river. Either way, with losses like this, they're not going to be offering that much more resistance. Two badly weakened corps at Quitay. And they're retreating. And fortunately for me, they retreat off the rail line. So this is the last of the Kotabaru base forces. They've now surrendered, so it appears that we've completely wiped out that unit. Although there is another unit here, so maybe one unit's retreated last turn. So I am incorrect then about completely wiping out the Kotabaru defenders. Pretty small force that came here. They've apparently got nowhere to go. Sambas holds again. So, we've taken Surigao on northern Mindanao, so these guys are just going to start working their way over to Cagayan. Alright, well that ended up being a pretty uneventful turn, which is fine with me. Really no complaints except for my persistent struggles to sink enemy submarines when I have valid platforms and weapons to do so present. Very little point gain this turn, the lowest of any turn in the war so far. Air losses were nearly non-existent, so low that there's actually no plane of any type where there was more than one lost for today. The only combat losses were a Blenheim IF that was shot down by Zeros in Burma or Thailand, and then I don't know if you want to count the 2 aircraft destroyed on the ground at Clark by our bombers as combat losses, but that's the next closest thing. The rest are operational losses. Ships sunk, just one cargo ship on each side. We picked up a cargo ship near the Philippines, and our cargo ship that was previously damaged near Ternate succumbed to its damage. So because this one was relatively uneventful, I'm not going to go region by region on this one, at least not with the bullet points. I do want to bring a little bit of attention to the Solomon Sea area because we had 2 enemy task forces detected here this turn. One over by Milne, which did not get reported on the map, That was 2 destroyers, plus this task force that includes the cruiser Adelaide at Port Moresby. Decent probability that this is reinforcements being delivered. I don't know why else a cruiser would be hanging out there. So that's something we need to pay very close attention to. I have 1 division ready to go to Port Moresby. If it's been adequately reinforced, 1 division might not be enough. So recon's a priority there. So a little bit of a potential problem here. We had 1 recon regiment arrive ahead of everybody else. This is intended to be a timing play where we got them all in at the same time. So we have the 55th Infantry, which is on the way, but it's going to arrive late. It's not even going to arrive next turn. Directly from Mersing, we're moving the 114th. It's still got 3 miles to go. So hopefully a little bit of a feint there, because they will arrive in time, and they'll arrive in combat mode. So we might be able to protect them a little bit better. This unit looks a bit weaker than it did previously. It was over 10,000 troops, and I think it was more like 130 guns, and now they're down to 91. So they may have been retreating a little bit. Just see real quick if we have anybody else moving. Yeah, we've got artillery. These guys just arrived, so they're not going to be moving yet. Same with these guys, they just arrived. Yeah, we don't have any other infantry. So there's a chance we may face an attack in Johor Bahru because of the early arrival of the recon regiment. So just something to pay attention to. And I mentioned during the replay that the lack of fighter opposition might mean that I can resume bombing Johor Bahru, and it looks like there's a very good reason for that to resume right now. Recon's saying there's only 5 fighters left at Singapore, so that's dropping off like a rock. Seeing plenty of individual ships at Palembang. 16 bombers, minesweepers. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that really indicates resistance. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's going on with these guys. But I guess they're targets, especially now that Kuantan has Bettys. Bettys with torpedoes available. Anyway, and I guess the one last thing I want to mention as far as summary goes is that damage is accumulating at Clark Airfield. Only 2 fighters left that are reported. Reported damage to the airbase is up to 64%. That's pretty bad. They could operate fighters out of Manila. They could operate fighters out of Iba. I don't expect those bases are going to be standing for much longer. Alright, so we'll close it out there, and we'll see you for the setup for December 18th. Thanks for watching.